in the way Georgia is handling their elections. Some 621,000 mail-in votes have already been cast ahead of the January 5th runoffs. The Georgia Secretary of State warning some 8,000 voters who requested out-of-state ballots about voting illegally if they've established residency in other states. And there's a group called True the Vote challenging the residency of more than 364,000 voters, demanding they prove their eligibility before casting ballots. Joining us now to talk all about this, Phil Klein, director of the Amistad Project, an election integrity watchdog that's part of the Thomas More Society. It's a conservative law firm. He's also a former Attorney General of Kansas. And Phil, thanks for joining. You've done a great deal of research. I read your report. Millions of dollars poured into key Democrat swing states. That would include Georgia, by a group that's backed by Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg. This appears to be dark money used to try to inflate the turnout vote. Is that illegal?
It should be. And we believe it is not lawful. It's a violation of federal law, the Help America Vote Act, as well as state election plans that are passed by the legislature. In all, what we've got here, Greg, is a shadow government. Zuckerberg actually spent more than the federal government provided in election money to all of the states to operate the general election during COVID. And he provided it through this charity, which dictated how the local officials would run the election. It was Zuckerberg that paid for the machines, Zuckerberg that paid the salaries, Zuckerberg that bought the drop boxes, Zuckerberg employees, essentially, that boarded up the windows and kicked America out of the voting room this time around. America was kicked out, and a billionaire was inside.
Are you worried that this will extend into the 2 Senate races in Georgia? Is it already happening?
Yes, it's already happening. They're doing the same thing again and making the same mistakes. These drop boxes, the chain of custody of the ballot, which is vitally important for all elections to maintain that chain of custody to protect the validity of that ballot, was broken with these drop boxes. Georgia law was not followed. They will not be followed. Georgia law will not be followed again. It was a lawless election, one in which we cannot have faith. It should not be certified by state legislatures. And they're doing it again.
Yeah, and your report states that Zuckerberg donated an astonishing $500 million to accomplish this, what I think you described this as an illicit scheme to unduly influence the vote. And isn't it true that he and others were using the COVID crisis as a pretext?
Absolutely. You had blue state governors shutting down in-person election places, claiming COVID was the concern. At the same time, in the urban core, they were expanding the opportunity for turnout of the vote by placing drop boxes. I'll give you one example, Greg. In Pennsylvania, Zuckerberg moneyed areas had a drop box for every 4 square miles and also paid for mobile pickup units for ballots. In the 59 Trump counties, or counties that Trump won in 2016, there was a drop box every 1,159 square miles. So what Pennsylvania created was a 2-tier election system where if you live in a Democrat area, stroll outside, somebody will pick up your ballot. If you're a Republican area, go on a weekend vacation and find Waldo. The same thing happened in Georgia, and it's happening again.
Well, it appears as though Mark Zuckerberg thinks he can buy the presidency. I want to talk to you, though, about the meeting that took place in the White House. I talked to Andy Biggs, Congressman, yesterday right after the meeting. He was there. Jim Jordan was there. Mo Brooks was there. Matt Gaetz, Louis Gohmert, and so forth. Their plan, apparently, is to come January 6th, when Congress convenes, to challenge the electoral vote tally. Isn't that a bit of a long shot? I mean, that's been tried before in our history. It's never worked. A long shot?
Well, it might be, but this was an unprecedented election. Never before have we had one individual spend more money than the federal government to dictate how elections will be managed at the local level. And government, it's a core function of government to manage these elections. You can't privatize it. We can't have elections brought to you by Coca-Cola or the Koch brothers or Mark Zuckerberg. That is putting your thumb on the scale and buying government offices to run the elections according to private interest dictates. I think all of that and the lawlessness, the admitted lawlessness that occurred everywhere Zuckerberg money touched, the loss of signature requirements, the elimination of witness requirements, the breach in the chain of custody, kicking Republicans out of the polling places, call into question this election. And state legislatures should declare that their states are in dispute as it relates to the election result. And I believe that that kicks it to Congress. And Congress has a role here under the Constitution to exercise their judgment.
Phil Klein. Phil, thanks for being with us.